Hi, it's Mary. Welcome back here. This is gonna be a story time, so if you're interested to know a bit more about me, my personal journey, weight loss, body image, all of that, please stay with us, get comfy, have a drink, and let's get started. So, I don't remember that much from my childhood, but something I know for sure is that I was always looking forward to the next meal. I really enjoyed eating in general. I remember salivating when my mom was cooking the escalope pané for the lunch, or eating the last bit of the Kinder Surprise without knowing when was going to be the next time that I was going to eat it. And yes, I think from that part of my life, there's a lot of things that for a really long time I took for granted, and I want to share it with you. My parents, well, my family in general, emigrated from Portugal to France just before I was born. And I think with this Portuguese heritage, there are some stuff that came with it. So here are there. First one, we ate all of the meals all together at the same times and like minimum distraction. And just this, for me, it always has been common sense, but I think maybe it's not. Tell me in the comments if you hadn't had this type of childhood, but yes. Every meal in proper time, everyone of the family gathered around the table at the same time. The second one was that we had a garden, and not all of it of course, but most of what we were eating was fresh food coming directly from our garden with no pesticide and anything of it. And I think I was really lucky about that. But let's get to the third thing that I actually forgot. Yes, the culture that I was raised in around food really was abundant. And by abundant, what I want to say is that there is no shame about what quantity of food you were eating. I mean, it was almost the contrary. Like, as much food as you ate, it was a way of expressing that it was really good, and for the cook, it was taken as a great compliment. In general, everyone insists about you having enough, feeling satisfied for either the quantity and the quality of what you're eating. And I think this is really great and loving and healthy, and I'm really grateful about that. So something of my teenhood that I remember so vividly was the time that I wasn't able to fit in my favorite jeans anymore, and I got so confused. I wouldn't say that I started dieting at the time, because first, we didn't really have a say about finishing our plates or not. And second, it was like too many really good food at home. But from this day, when I couldn't fit into these jeans, I started to notice few details that I didn't notice. For example, I remember our neighbor next door. Each time she came home to say hi, she looked at me and said,
"Wow, you're so beautiful, you could be a model."
And curiously, she wasn't saying this anymore. Another time, we decided to make our own photo shoot with my girlfriends. And by photo shoot, I mean just me taking an old camera and took picture of ourselves, basically. When I looked at the picture, I was really shocked, and I was really self-aware about my thighs. And yes, it's one of these things that I began to really notice. Something else. We used to receive catalog of fashion items to buy, clothes, how to say it, whatever. And I remember really loving a dress. And I told my parents, look at this, like, this dress is really beautiful, please buy it to me. But I will never forget the answer of my father. He looked at me in silence, and I asked him what, and he answered,
"Well, it does look great on the girl in the picture."
I'm not saying it was implying that I was fat or anything, but at that time, because I was so sensible and because of all of the things that was happening, well, I quite took it wrong. So because at the time we didn't have Instagram and not so many high-end website or whatever, I took pictures from magazine and tried to make Today we will call this a vision board, but at the time it was really an unhealthy bodyguard of mine to stay motivated. And in my head, the only way that I could change the way I looked, and by that I mean get thinner, was to eat less. And to get this motivation to eat less, even with my absolutely love and passion for food, quantity and quality, it was a challenge. So I wanted to stay motivated, and the only way that I got was to make this vision board of model looking extremely thin and retouched with Photoshop. Oh, and also I had a notebook where I used to took my measurements, because my mother know really well how to sew. She had all these things used to take measurements. Every time that I felt that I was getting off the track that I wanted to be in, I took my measurements again. Tell me if you've seen this specific scene in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime. She does it too, and it kind of remember what I used to do. But anyway. So after that, you guessed it or not, but I went to university, to college. Would you say that way? I'm not sure. I was living not by myself, but with my best friend, and not with my parents for the first time, and I became in charge of what I was eating. Now that I had full autonomy of what I could eat or not, I decided to take the diet thing more seriously and go a little bit more extreme with it. But also, because now I could buy my favorite food more often than before, I also did this extreme. For example, I don't know if you know Kinder Delice. I really loved it, but in a really specific experience. So what I really liked was the top chocolate bar to be frozen and the ganache to be cold. What I did was buy quite often the 12 pack of Kinder Delice, and I took them 2 by 2 on the really tiny freezer that we had, wait for I would say 1 hour, then take them out and eat them. And while I was eating them really slowly to enjoy them, I was putting 2 more, and I usually ate the 12. Also at that time, internet became quite a thing. We were all chatting on MSN Messenger, and I began to have more access to what kind of diet I could try, because obviously eating less was not really working for me in the long term. And I tried all of them. I mean, when I have something in mind, usually before I don't succeed to do this thing, I don't stop, ever. During these 5 years of college, I just tried everything on the book that could be tried. And of course, as you may have guessed or maybe experienced, as extreme I got with the diet, as extreme I got with the binging. And by the way, if you want to have more information of binging and binge eating disorder, please let me on the comment and I will do a specific video on that. And also, because I was getting so controlling with my food and I was kind of becoming crazy, when I went out with my friends, let's say almost every single night, I was using alcohol to try to get out of my head. And once I was out of my head, well, I started binging because I was so, on one hand, hungry, but also deprived psychologically of food. Figuring out all of my emotions, well, I had 1,000 reasons to binge at the time. But hey, that's what happened. I think one of my lower points, well, I don't think, I know. So I was helping organizing this event with college. The goal was to help companies find students to intern and students to find internship. And at this event, of course, we had food, a lot of food, and especially French pastries, croissants, pain au chocolat, and all of that. So at the end of the event, by 6 p.m., we had still a huge tray of pastries that hadn't been eaten by anyone. And this person was about to take them on the trash, and I told her, please don't do that. We have a lot of homeless people on the street on my way home, so let me just share it with them instead of putting it on the trash. So I took the tray, and then it started pouring rain. I was leaving maybe 5 minutes walking. I was kind of walking, running through the rain to get home. and I was alone. I was living with 2 people at the time, but at this time I was alone on the living room watching the tray after what I believe was a 3 days extremely 1 apple a day diet. I thought that it would be a shame to lose it and that it would have been unhealthy for me to not eat any of them because one of each wouldn't be like such a big thing. So I took 1 pain au chocolat, which is my favorite, go in my bedroom and ate it. And I remember feeling guilty after that, not because I've eaten it, but because I felt, damn, I ate it too fast. I don't remember the taste and I didn't enjoy it enough. So I went back and I took a croissant this time, and again, I went into my bedroom, I ate it, and then I felt really frustrated. Really, is this it? It took 2 minutes and all the pleasure is already gone, and I have still a lot of in the living room. And by the way, I don't have anything for dinner, so maybe if today I eat some pastries and I don't have dinner, it would be so bad, so why not? And then I was trying to convince myself, and I just binged the whole tray. When I was eating the last pastry of what I think was at least 20, the door opened with my flatmate going, and I was feeling so ashamed that I ran into my bedroom. And curiously, people didn't notice that much because as hard the binging went, as hard the compensation went. It could be not eating for a really long period of time or doing excessive workout or both. Oh, and because I was getting so insecure, I had this really deep aversion for pictures. Like, I know maybe you don't like to have your picture taken anyway. I don't think so many people really love it. But in my case, it was that extreme that if I see someone taking my picture, I was getting to that person and convince this person to erase it, like now. And in general, what I'm thinking now, reflecting back on this period of my life, is that I put so much energy in my looks by the form of working out and not eating and controlling everything that I was eating, that I kind of put my personal development on hold. And I don't think that as a person I grew that much between my first and my last year of university. So then came the time to join the workforce. I was currently living in Barcelona, where I did my last internship, and I kind of entered in depression. And by that I mean, because I was alone in Barcelona and I didn't have the social pressure that I had in France, I tried to go from what was more bulimia / binge eating disorder to just binge eating disorder. And by that, I mean, I just gave up. Not giving up actually, but I was not trying to compensate anymore on my binging episode because I didn't have like a deadline of, oh, I have to go to this party and I should look good. So I was not compensating anymore, and because I wasn't doing it, I gained a lot of weight. And when I realized it by the end of the month, I was really shocked and scared and confused, and I really saw myself not having absolutely any control anymore on what was happening to me, and I just see myself gaining more and more and more weight until I died alone. So why did this happen? Well, an example. I used to go to Burger King and then I would pretend to be on the phone with my friends and asking menus for them. Like menus in plural. So I was not buying 1 or 2 or 3, but 4 large menus, and I went back home with all of the bags and I ate it all by myself. As you may wonder, how would you afford to eat like 4 times the amount of food for one person? And The answer is that I didn't. And by even before the half of the month, I didn't have any money anymore, and I had to beg my parents to give me some money to be able to eat. So yes, I remember in this specific day, put on my red bikini instead of the mirror, stepping on the thing where you see your weight on, and I decided, stop, that's it. I'm gonna change, but I'm gonna change in a clever way and not doing the same thing over and over again, because as I see, at least for me, it isn't working. I need to find a way that it's gonna work, because in my opinion, I disagree now, but in my opinion, my 20s were gonna be the best years of my life, and I couldn't stand to not enjoy them. So yeah, I was determined to find a new way of eating that was gonna be more balanced and sustainable, and find that a way that works for me in the long run and not necessarily lose that amount of weight in this amount of time. So one day, in my very boring first job, I was looking at random videos on YouTube, and I saw this suggestion about how to lose cellulite. And what really was going on in this YouTube channel, that I won't say the name, was about a woman that was eating in front of the camera every single day during 3 years, 4,000 calories, mostly carbs, and was not gaining weight. So I thought, let's just try. We'll know if it's possible or not. I've done worse. And I tried it and it worked, and then it just blew my mind. Not like I wouldn't recommend this to anybody. Of course, this is not what this is about. But it made me open my eyes in the fact that first, it's not just about calories in, calories out. It's way, way more complicated than that. And second, that carbs don't make you fat. So I thought, if I was wrong about calorie restriction and carbs portion control, what else was I wrong about? And I realized, like, really, during all these years, I was doing basically the same thing over and over again. It didn't have the same name and the same rule, but I was trying to find the perfect formulas with restriction to change how my body was looking, just taking into account working out and food. And I was learning so many new things that, in a way, ironically, I began to lose weight without even noticing. In this time, I decided I'm gonna give it a go and try eating plant-based for some amount of time. And at the time, like, veganism was really, really not fashionable. I was making fun of by colleagues at work. No one really understood what I was doing. I was that ashamed that when I came back to France to see my friends and family, I didn't tell them, and I ate cheese and meat and everything because I didn't want them to make fun of me. And I kind of felt that I had to prove myself in some way. So I began to cook intensively to try to prove that even if I was gonna eat plant-based with everyone, my food was gonna be as good as theirs, if not better. And this focus on I'm gonna enjoy as much as possible and I'm gonna eat did save me, basically. So today my life is quite different than the story I just told you. I barely weigh myself. I surely never count what I'm eating and don't restrict myself to absolutely any rules. And well, I still barely work out, but that's not something that I'm proud of. I really want to do this. What I want to say by this is that it's not thanks to the working out that I've been able to stay the way that I am and still feel okay with myself. And for sure that even if I'm not 100% loving everything about how I look, it doesn't prevent me anymore to live my life, to speak to people, to take chances. And that's really what I wish to all of you and to my past self, as I would say. Like, it's not feeling good about yourself just for the sake of feeling good and admiring yourself in the mirror every single day, even if if you want to, that's good. But I really don't want it to be a reason why you're having regrets later on in life. And something that will always stay with me is that I don't take any of this for granted. I know it can change at any time, and I still, when I'm telling you this story, feeling and remembering how it felt. And I think this is something that will always stay with me, and it's a good thing. I think it's helping me to help you because I still remember how it was.